And here's the truth. Neither is better. They're just optimized for different parts of the business. And in business, we need both. And now we need both almost simultaneously because of how fast change is occurring. I often talk about VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We're just a short step away from the next crisis, the next big thing. And every big thing was not predicted. Every big thing was not expected. It was a surprise. And that next big thing will probably be the same. The problem is most tension between departments, teams, even executives isn't about personality. It's about this fundamental mismatch in how we approach work. We expect precision in a space that requires discovery, or we expect agility in a space that demands control. If we want to lead change, whether a small pivot or a full-on transformation, we have to first acknowledge how people are wired matters, and what the work demands matters even more. That's why transformation can't end with a new strategy, a new speech, or even a successful pilot. Because once this shift is made, once that new direction is set, the hard work begins. You have to organize that work, not just around the goal, but around the way people are wired to contribute. Operational work thrives on consistency, efficiency, and precision. Project and innovation work demand ambiguity, exploration, and iteration. People focused on operations and those focused on projects bring different strengths and blind spots. Put somebody with the bias towards operational in charge of a new controversial initiative, and it often drifts back to the status quo. That's why establishing processes early in the steady state that reinforce change is so important. When you design with intention, matching the work to the mindset, you create momentum instead of resistance. For executives, that's the real leverage. Organizing the work in a way that unlocks people's natural strengths. Leaders who understand that can stop the friction and start building cultures where execution and innovation can coexist. And where I sit, I see that both of these need to be running parallel. You go back a few decades and it was clear that you ran a project. We have the waterfall style project, design, build, implement, test. And that project, that new implementation or new capability can last for years. But now what we're seeing is, and with Agile started addressing that early in the 2000s, Agile project management with its more iterative design. And I think the internet contributed to that because of user experience. And user experience, we found that, if you spend all this time and money building a project or a platform and then nobody's using it, why don't they use it? Because they don't like it. That led to user experience, and I say that user experience, and among other things, led to Agile, because in user experience, it was very iterative. Where you're going to put the login button, the place where people naturally look for in the screen. And you can adopt some of this as how you work. Rather than try to change behavior, rather than try to change the people that are on your team, you build your processes around their strengths and their propensities. That's the backdrop. What we're going to do today is we're going to work through some real world examples to get out of the theory and into real world. I want to keep this practical. So what we'll do is approach it with your real input. Before I go on, I want to share some ideas with you that have to do with this distinction between project and operations work. When I started on this work going back 5 years to close this gap between what people know and what they actually apply, right? Because you can probably agree with me, we don't use all of what we know. And most of the best practices sound like old news to us. So it's not that we don't know it, but to know and not do is to not know.